Okay, can we get started? Are we good? Okay, good evening, everybody. Can I get a motion to go into executive session for personnel and legal matters? Maria and Ann, all in favor? 6. Okay, we'll see you back at 7. Okay, welcome back. Can everyone stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
Leah Leone,
Brett Miller.
Maria Venuto.
Ann Markoulis.
Angela Ramo.
Megan Levine.
Maureen Jimenez.
Michael Mecca.
All right, great. Okay, so let's move to the approval of the minutes from February 11th. That seems like forever ago. Can I get a motion? Leah and Maria, any questions or comments about it? All in favor? 6 and 1 abstention. Okay. We don't have any committee reports tonight. So Michael, do you have anything for us? Okay.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. To start off, just a quick update. I know I said this a lot, but the German students are coming this Monday and Tuesday. Okay, that's it. So also this Monday is the first official day for spring sports, except for boys tennis, which starts the following Monday. This Friday are the red and green games. Not much I think needs to be said other than go green. I want to take this time to congratulate Mr. Edward Norris for being recognized as the 2025 Educator of Note by the Long Island Music and Entertainment Hall of Fame. He will be inducted into the Hall of Fame on March 20th in Stony Brook. So the final thing I want to touch on tonight is the Long Island Regional Student Forum. Last Friday, Ryan and I had the privilege of attending this forum, which was an all-day event. The forum's goal was to break down the barrier, at least is how I saw it, was to break down the barrier between administration and the students. We started the day going over 4 core areas of interest: academic pressure, school environment, mental health, and career exploration. There was lots of discussion, but I'll keep it short to a few main points. So when we went there, we would break down each of these 4 things in different groups, small groups. So although there were, I think the number was maybe 160 students, maybe I only saw 15 at a time. So 4 times, you could do that math, about 45 kids. So between these issues, right, a few things that students said were not, this is not particularly coming from us. One thing that I did observe was that Glen Cove, I had to say, something to be proud of, we were pretty high up there with things. When students mentioned stuff, we either had it or we did not have that issue. Sometimes that was just students, how students got along with each other, fights, social media, things along those lines. And you know, when people would say, do you have a lot of fights going on here? I wouldn't be able to relate for good reason. So something that I could say could be done is making guidance counselors not necessarily just easier to approach, but they need to be pushing more career exploration further. So not just college, maybe post-college or instead of college, right? Trade schools is another thing. School environment, we were pretty good on. I didn't have anything different to say. Academic pressure, it's kind of alleviated. I wouldn't say Glen Cove has a lot. I know other schools, they'll have a lot of tests on the same day. Here, teachers, which was another positive, teachers are pretty easy to work with. And if I've never had the issue of needing to move or not, the teacher not allowing the class to move a test to another period if there were too many tests on a certain day. Something that we do not have, and I'm not necessarily sure if it's a big priority, but it was said that like a Zen zone, I'm sure you guys have heard of it, more like a Zen zone separate from the library was something that students really liked. There was a lot of that in the mental health section. I know there was a service dog that we would have a therapy dog come here. Students were saying that, you know, they had it maybe once a week at their school. That's just something to bring up. And those, I think, were the main points. So that's all for me this week. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you were able to participate in that. And those are, the career exploration and the Zen Zone are things that we've actually talked about and learned a little bit about at our state meeting. So they're definitely on our minds. So it's good that we're all thinking the same thing. Thank you. Okay, superintendent's report.
This time, I'd like to invite Ms. Teresa Cahan to present on our third budget workshop. I'm going to give her the clicker.
This is set for me. Oh, there we go. That's helpful. Thank you and good evening. Tonight in Budget Workshop number 3, we are going to review our current estimated state aid, our 26-27 tax levy calculation and proposed tax levy, the program component of the budget, and the status of the budget. If you remember, at the last Board of Education meeting, I showed you our estimated state aid per the governor's preliminary budget. Those amounts were adjusted mid-February, and what you see here are our new projected state aid amounts. The previous estimate showed an overall increase of 1.276418. Our state aid increase is now decreased to $1,146,906, largely due to a decrease in foundation aid. Every year, by law, a school district needs to report their tax levy limit to the Office of the New York State Comptroller, which must be submitted by March 1st. This is the formula that is used to find the allowable tax levy limit. The formula includes items such as a tax-based growth factor, pilots, and allowable exclusions. As you can see, the allowable tax levy limit for the 26-27 school year is just over $81.5 million. This represents the maximum amount that the school district is allowed to levy in taxes and equates to a 2.42% increase, which is the proposed tax levy for the 26-27 school year. Moving on to the expenditures, the next few slides will review the program component of the appropriation budget. The program component is the largest component of a school district budget and includes items necessary for instruction. First is what we call teaching regular school. This includes salaries for teachers, teacher assistants, monitors, equipment repair, textbooks, workbooks, instructional materials for all buildings within the district. Next is teaching special education. This line represents the expenses necessary for all special education students. That would include salaries for teachers, monitors, teaching assistants, and instructional materials for all buildings. In addition, it includes the cost for tuition to special education schools that our students may attend, and services like occupational therapy, physical therapy, and evaluations. Vocational education is programming for our students through the BOCES career and technical education schools. These programs are available to our students to gain insight into certain careers like culinary arts, cosmetology, nurse assisting, carpentry, plumbing, and auto technology. The see increased enrollment in these programs. Teaching special schools includes the expenses for our BOCES summer education program, GED, driver's ed, and our Summer of Success program at the elementary level. Library includes the expenses for the librarians, including their salaries, supplies, and softwares. Glen Cove Television includes salaries and supplies needed to support the GCTV program. Computer-assisted instruction includes the cost for the IT department and the software and hardware needed to support instruction in the classroom. This line also includes funding to purchase instructional devices for our students and staff. Attendance represents the salaries for the attendance office in the middle school and the high school. The guidance line includes salaries for guidance departments in the middle school and high school, the clerical staff within those offices, and the supplies needed. Health services includes the salaries for the nurses district-wide, the supplies needed for those offices, and the cost of health services for our students that are attending private and parochial schools. This also includes funds for an annual AED inspection and supplies to ensure the AED devices in each building are in top working order. Psychological services includes the salaries for our psychologists, supplies for specialized testing, and psychological exams. Social work services represent the salaries and supplies for our social workers. The co-curricular expense includes salaries and supplies for clubs and productions in the schools and for high school graduation. Interscholastic athletics includes the expenses for the coaches, security at athletic events, equipment, referee fees, awards, and supplies. Transportation services includes the salaries for our transportation office and the software that is used for our routing. Contract transportation is the cost of busing for our students within the district to private and parochial schools, and for our special education students. This cost continues to increase, and we are expecting a 10% increase for next year. Summer recreation includes salaries to oversee the summer program. The expense for adult education is for the programming that is offered to the community. It's important to note that we receive revenue to offset this expense from the registration fees for the classes. The employees' retirement system includes the district's costs for non-certified employees. Non-certified employees would be in positions such as clerical, custodial, monitor, nurse, and food service. This increase is determined by the New York State Employees Retirement System and is based on the salaries that are paid to these employees. The teacher retirement includes the district costs for all certified employees, such as teachers, administrators, teacher assistants, and central office administrators. This increase is determined by the New York State Teachers Retirement System and again is based on the salaries that are paid to these employees. FICA represents the amount that the district is required to pay for Social Security and Medicare based on the salaries that are paid to the employees. And workers' compensation is our cost for coverage that provides benefits and medical care to employees that are injured during their job. These expenses are offset by our workers' compensation reserve, which we include in the revenue budget each year. Life insurance, unemployment, and disability insurance expenses have remained flat, and as I mentioned in previous budget presentations, medical insurance has continued to increase, and we are predicting a 10% increase for 2027. Administrative fees are the fees paid for the Omni Group and WageWorks, the third-party administrators for the district's 403B and flexible spending plans. Transfer to Special Aid Fund represents the district's portion of the expense for the summer education, special education programs. Currently, the total estimated expenditure budget for the program component is just under $104.4 million. The 26-27 budget currently includes the use of several of our reserves, as you can see here. The reserves are used to offset the corresponding expenses and have been used consistently in the past as an additional source of revenue. Now I'd like to review where we are with the 26-27 budget. As of today, we do not have a balanced budget. The current gap is about $4.7 million. This means that our expenses are currently more than our revenues. There are several factors that contribute to this shortfall, including the rate of inflation, rising costs for items such as health insurance, special education services, and transportation, limited foundation aid increases, and declining enrollment. Dr. Dashner will speak about this in a few minutes. In the next few weeks, we will review the budget to determine how to eliminate this gap. Central administration is working with the schools to review their staffing needs, and we will review every aspect of the budget to see where cuts can be made. We will look at the possibility of using additional reserves, and we are waiting to receive the governor's adopted budget, which will give us the final state aid figures. In budget workshop number 4 at our next Board of Education meeting, we will talk about the status of the 26-27 budget and discuss any updates we may have on state aid. We will also review the breakdown of the projects using the $1 million capital outlay in the current proposed budget. Oh. And that is my presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you. Does anyone have any? No? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Cahan, for that presentation. So at this point, I'd like to speak with all of you about where we are as a district, more or less midway through the year. This morning, I started my day by reading to students at Daisy for PARP, and I asked them if they had recently celebrated their 100 days of school, because I, too, am celebrating my midway point in the year as superintendent of schools. We want to start today by reminding our community of our portrait of a graduate and highlight the 5 competencies that we identified last year to make sure that everyone is aware that these are the things that we value as a district. Number 1, self-advocate. Number 2, critical thinker. Versatile learner. Engaged citizen. Collaborative communicator. Our portrait of a graduate is directly connected to our district pillars. So if you remember at the beginning of the school year, we came up with our district pillars, which are our 5 goals for the year. And it is our 5 goals as a whole. So it's what we have all been working towards this year to make sure that we are in alignment and we are moving forward consistently. Our goals are instructional excellence, belonging and wellness, transparency and accountability, health and safety, communication and recruiting, and community engagement. So I will go through each of these goals now and give you a brief snapshot of where we are midpoint in the year in terms of reaching these goals. So we began the year by sharing our process to submit our pre-K through 3rd grade literacy attestation to the state. We documented the improvements that we have made to our literacy curriculum over the past 3.5 years, and we shared with the community that we uploaded our attestation and successfully did so. We then also shared the tremendous growth on our NICESLAT scores. The NICESLAT is an exam that all of our English language learners take, and we are very proud to share the scores we received this summer for last year's English language learners. We can see that 44.44% of students increased 1 level, 22% of students increased 2 levels, 6.54% of students moved to a former L status. So we wanted to highlight this once again because we are so very proud of our English language learners. We also shared similar growth for our 3 to 5 NICESLAT scores, with 49.40 of students increasing their language proficiency and 20.24% of English language learners moving to former English language learner status. Once again, we are very proud of this progress because it really shows that our changes in curriculum and looking carefully at literacy are helping students across the board. At the beginning of this year in 2026, Mr. Klatsky shared with us some points of pride as they pertain to our 3 to 5 state assessments. We had an 8.2 percentage point increase from 2023 to 2025 across our state assessments. We have gained 11 positions regionally over the last 3 years, and we have seen 3 times the rate of growth that the region is seeing. So we are growing at a faster pace than the rest of our region in Nassau County. So these are all things that we hold in extreme pride and wanted to highlight them once again. As it pertains to state testing, we've also increased participation, going from 60% to 72% participation. We've improved performance and are now at 40% proficient and continue to work on growing from that point. We have reduced the below proficient level from 41% to 32% below proficient. And we have, again, to reemphasize this point, exceptional acceleration. So we are growing by 8.2 percentage points, whereas Nassau County is increasing by 2.8 percentage points. So again, really wanted to highlight that. We also shared with you some of our secondary students and the incredible growth that we have seen in their advanced placement scores. We have 73% of our students here at Glen Cove High School scoring more than a 3 on their advanced placement exams, and we are seeing steady growth across the last 5 years. We also shared that we earned a bronze seal overall from our AP Honor Roll score provided by College Board. This was bronze for overall, bronze for college culture, gold for college credit, and platinum for college optimization. So these are points that we continue to try to move forward. We grew 5 percentage points just in college culture from last year. While we're still at bronze, we're very close to going to the next level. So again, just wanted to highlight this amazing achievement. We also celebrated all of our AP scholars. We invited them here with their families. You can see how across the years we have grown in AP scholars in different distinctions. We're very proud of our students for achieving so much. Taking multiple AP classes is very rigorous, so we are really proud of seeing more and more students challenge themselves, and not just challenge themselves, but reach the levels of proficiency we want to see. You may have seen the banners outside of our schools, but we wanted to make sure to highlight this and bring it to the forefront. In terms of instructional excellence in academics, Glen Cove High School has been recognized as one of the best high schools in the nation for the 2025-2026 school year. We're ranking among the top 40% of all public schools. Last year, Finley Middle School also earned this accolade, making both of our secondary schools stand out across the nation. Now we shift from instructional excellence in academics to instructional excellence in athletics. So we saw our boys varsity soccer team make it into our Nassau Class AA quarterfinals. We're very proud of our boys team. We had 2 exceptional young scholars and athletes, Brooke Simmons and Mark Reeves. They joined the elite number of high school athletes who have scored 1,000 points in both girls and boys basketball. You can see them here in photos that we highlighted across our district news and social media. Kickline took first place at the Long Island Dance Team Association. We shared that last week as well. Glen Cove Varsity Cheer earned second place at the Battle of the Beach. We saw a great achievement from our swimmers as well. Huge congratulations to Isabella Dilgard-Clark. She had an outstanding performance this swim season. She earned all conference honors for her contributions to the medley and freestyle relay teams. The Northern Region swim team also delivered a standout performance at the Nassau County A Championships, securing 9th place finish. The team continued to the county championships, which were held earlier in February. Boys golf had a great season as well. We had 2 players, John, do you pronounce his name Christ or Chris? Christ, John Christ, and our ex officio board member who also plays golf, Ryan Martino, qualified for the county championships as individuals, which will take place this spring. The team also earned the New York State Scholar Athlete Award because they finished with a team GPA well over 90. Boys golf concluded the regular season with a 6-6 record while competing in the toughest conference on Long Island. Congratulations to our own ex officio student board member, I'm going to embarrass you, Ryan Martino, for being selected for the prestigious Charles Evans Caddy Scholarship, which provides full tuition and housing for 4 years to high-achieving golf caddies. Congratulations. Now we're moving on to instructional excellence, specifically in music. So we are a district that is proud to celebrate our student musicians for their exceptional achievements at the 2025 NISMA festivals. You see photos of our students here with their proud teachers. 43 students earned all county honors from the Nassau Music Educators Association for their performances at the Tillis Center, while 4 additional students were selected for the prestigious 2026 Long Island String Festival Association, also known as LISFA. These are just a handful of accomplishments of our students, and I would encourage anyone who would like to see more Glen Cove Pride to visit our website and social media, because again, I'm really giving you a quick snapshot, but we have story after story after story of amazing achievements. Moving on to our curriculum and instruction goal of belonging and wellness. This year we have been using the social emotional curriculum second step at the elementary level, and you can see some of our students engaging in the curriculum in these photos. At the middle school level, we have continued with restorative circles. We have Circle Up, which focuses on healthy friendships and positive relationships, community building events, PS I Love You Day celebrations, as well at the middle school. At the high school, you heard our ex officio board member mention some of the mindfulness activities that the Mindfulness Club takes on. We had PS I Love You Day at the high school as well. We also have been incentivizing attendance, so we have a set attendance incentives that students get to earn a gift card for being on time. So once again, trying to emphasize belonging and wellness at the secondary level. So now we're transitioning to our goal, finance, transparency, and accountability. We're going to turn our attention to our business goal of transparency and accountability, as you heard from Ms. Cahan earlier. So we're going to start with this graph, and this graph is going to be an explanation of foundation aid. To begin the explanation for foundation aid, I want to start by defining what it is. It is the way that the state funds school districts to pay for the core costs of educating students. So the state gives us money, and that is called foundation aid. Foundation aid was started in 2007, as you see in the graph. For the first 2 years, it was fully funded. Then we had the financial crisis of 2008, and foundation aid was frozen for 3 years. You can see it's at zero for the next 3 years. Despite years of advocacy and the progress made after the Rockefeller report, the executive budget includes no proposed changes to the foundation aid formula. Many education groups have been calling for updated revisions to reflect today's students' needs and the rising costs of education. This past weekend, I was at the New York School Superintendent's Institute, where we were looking along with legislature to see if we can take the next steps to begin updating or re-examining the formula once again. Without changes to the formula, districts like ours continue to face financial pressure under an outdated system. The 3 years that lead up to 2023 and 2024, which you see on the graph, represent the state's phase-in plan to reach full funding. In 2023-2024, that's the highest point on the graph, inflation was also had to be adjusted to 8%, so that's why there was a drastic increase in foundation aid. The last 3 years, we have had the formula reflected at being fully funded, and even with full funding, annual increases now vary and do not always keep pace with the rising costs for districts. So this graph really explains that a little bit better. This slide compares major cost drivers over the past 5 years to the state's operating increase and the foundation aid increases provided to school districts. Foundation aid is the darker blue bar that you see. So that's this one. The green bar, that's the first bar, is inflation. The maroon bar is employer contribution. Employer contribution is the amount that the employer or the school district pays toward employee benefits on behalf of employees. The salmon bar here, the third one, is the state operation costs, which represents the portion of spending supported primarily by state-raised revenues, and it's used for the ongoing operations of the state government. The darker blue bar, as I mentioned earlier, is the average foundation aid increase for the entire state, and then the light blue bar represents the due minimum increase each year. So you can see that inflation, the green bar, and employer contribution rates, the maroon bar, really have fluctuated significantly, but often outpace the minimum increase that the districts receive, which is the foundation aid dark blue bar. The state's overall operating budget has grown steadily. Foundation aid increases, shown in the dark blue, do not always align with the rising local cost pressures. This highlights the gap between what districts are required to spend due to inflation, due to employer contribution, and it includes the rising cost of health insurance and how the state foundation aid has not grown in response. So you can really see that outpaced here. just to go back. So if you notice, inflation is not graphed here for this year, and the reason for that is because it's calculated at the end of the year. JP Morgan is estimating that inflation for this year will be at 3.2% in 2026. So that, again, is going to be outpacing what our foundation aid, which Ms. Cahan shared with you, is. That is 2.42. No, 2.04 is 2.04. Thank you. It's confusing with the 2 and the 4s. So 2.04 is the foundation aid that we received. That was a decrease from 2.6, which was the first run. So that was a significant decrease for us. So this infographic shows how the foundation aid is calculated. It is a very intricate formula. This is a simplified version of what the formula is. It is multi-step. So this simplified version is basically a per student amount, which is $8,505 for this coming year. It is multiplied by how many weighted students we have. The weights per student increase for students living in poverty, or if students are students with disabilities or are English language learners. Then it is adjusted for local need, regional costs, and district wealth. The most important driver for our district is the weighted pupil count. If you have fewer students or fewer students who qualify for higher weights, special education, high poverty, or English language learners, this will directly reduce the dollars that we receive. So the outcome of the foundation aid formula and the calculation is considered the formula amount or the full funding level for a district. Because of safe, harmless provisions, which the state said you're not going to receive less foundation aid than you received the year before, districts are guaranteed to stay save, harmless, even if the formula would generate a lower amount. As a result, districts are often described as either being on the formula or off the formula and on save harmless. This is going to make more sense with this graph. This slide shows that this year most of the districts are now off formula and they are on save harmless. They will receive only the due minimum increase of 1%. Approximately 461 school districts across the state will receive just the 1% minimum increase. That's 68% of school districts statewide. While Glen Cove is receiving 2.04% increase in foundation aid from last year, that increase does not keep pace with our annual cost drivers that I explained with the bar graph before. Inflation, contractual salary obligations, health insurance, retirement contributions, and special education mandated services continue to rise at rates higher than 2%. Like you heard from Ms. Cahan, transportation is going up 10%. Health insurance is going up 10%. That cannot keep pace with a 2.04% in foundation aid. In practical terms, our costs are growing faster than our aid, which contributes directly to our structural budget gap. So I want to talk a little bit about enrollment. Losing enrollment in a district is termed as the double whammy in foundation aid. So fewer students is less total aid per student. You have less students, you have less number of students multiplied by the 8,000 number that we have as the foundation aid number. Fewer students also equal a higher wealth ratio. So let me just slow down because this is a little bit confusing. Foundation aid is primarily driven by enrollment. When you get a per pupil figure, this cycle it's 8,505, you will multiply it by the number of students in our district. The more students, the more that foundation amount will be. When enrollment falls, we lose dollars directly because we have fewer students. Also, the state's formula estimate of local wealth or income per student rises, and that is a little bit contradictory. As that number rises, for example, because we have fewer students, the state will lower the aid it provides per student. So let me give you a math example. So say before enrollment drop, we had a property plus income equal to 100 million for Glen Cove. These are just hypothetical numbers, so it's easy math. So if we had a property plus income value for the District of Glen Cove equal to 100 million, and we had 1,000 students in our district, the wealth per pupil is 100 million divided by 1,000 students, you get 100,000. That's the wealth per pupil that the state would be using to calculate our foundation aid. If we had a 10% drop in enrollment, we would still have that same 100 million from property and income value, but now we only have 900 students. So now divide 100 million by 900 and you get $111,000 wealth per pupil. So you see how artificially that number just went up. So now the state will give us less because we will look like we have a higher wealth per pupil. So it's kind of that double whammy. So the enrollment loss reduces total aid and aid per student because of the higher wealth per pupil. So I just wanted to bring this infographic back to show you in losing enrollment is going to be a double whammy because it's going to hit you in two places in the formula. We will have less students, that's the first red circle you see, and then we will also have a higher wealth per pupil ratio, which will result in less foundation aid for our district. So we will look at our overall enrollment from October 2015 to February 2026. Here you see the graph of our district's enrollment. Peak enrollment occurred in the year 2016 and 2017 at 3,273 students. Since that time, enrollment has declined by 216 students, bringing us this year to 3,059 students. The most significant single-year drop occurred between 2019, 2020, and 2020-2021, and that was during COVID. We did rebound from 2021 to 2022, and again in 2023 and 2024, but enrollment has again begun to decline over the past 2 years. From October 2023 to February 2026, which is when I was running these calculations and making this graph, the district experienced a net enrollment decline of 171 students, reflecting a sustained downward trend over the past decade. So enrollment has now fallen to its lowest point in the past 12 years, which has a direct implication for our state aid calculations. It also has direct implications for our staffing considerations and our long-term budget planning. This chart shows the enrollment trajectory, which again directly reduces foundation aid due to less students and sets up that wealth per pupil discrepancy that further cuts our state support. I want to emphasize that we are not alone in seeing decreases in enrollment because districts across Long Island, districts across the state are seeing significant decreases in enrollment. But once again, you will understand why so many districts are not seeing substantial increases to their foundation aid. This chart shows our use of reserves. Ms. Cahan prepared the chart for us this evening. We start in this current school year, 2025, and we go all the way back to 2020, 2021. Each year, you can see that we have been pulling on our reserves. We pulled 2.98 in 2021, 2022, 1.88 million in 2024, 2025, and last year we had to pull 2.6 million to make sure that we close the budget deficit. Reserves is another name for a savings account for a school district. They are not limitless funds and they are not recurring revenue. Each draw reduces our future cushion. Over the past 6 years, we haven't just used reserves once. We've repeatedly tapped them to close the budget gap between what we spend, which is our expenditure budget, and what we collect, which is our revenue budget. This hides a structural problem and leaves us exposed when those one-time funds run out. As you heard Ms. Cahan explain, we are currently facing a $4.77 million budget gap deficit for the 2026-2027 school year. I was just at the New York State Council of Superintendents Winter Institute, as I mentioned earlier, and in conversation with district leaders from across the state, we voiced the budget deficits that we are facing to 2 representatives from the governor's office. We advocated on behalf of our districts. We explained. One district from the northern region explained that their increase was just $5,000 for the next year. What could they really cover with $5,000, even though they were a small district, when again, health insurance is increasing by 10% across the board. Inflation is increasing at 3.6%. So we are not alone, but I did want to emphasize what Ms. Cahan mentioned before. So our district faces a critical $4.77 million budget gap. The decisions we make today will determine whether we navigate this challenge with stability and foresight, or whether we face increasingly painful consequences down the road. So I came up with this analogy of a runway, which is what you see on the slide here. And I created a timeline which will illustrate what each phase will mean for our programs, our people, and our students if we do not make significant choices and very careful choices. With enrollment down, reducing state aid, and reserves already drawn repeatedly over the past 6 years, our options are limited. We must make programmatic and staffing cuts to reduce recurring expenditures, especially given a lower enrollment. We once again will have to use some additional reserves this year to cover the gap, but we are hopeful that by making strategic, intentional decisions, we will reduce the amount we have to draw from reserves. We will continue to pursue new revenues, such as through grant writing and advocacy at the state level and at the local level. But the bottom line is that the time to act is now. While we still have the reserves, while the runway is ahead of us, and the options to make thoughtful, strategic decisions rather than reactive ones are there. So I'm going to go through the scenario of what would happen if we were not to make strategic cuts. In the short term, reserves will allow us to maintain current programs and services by covering as much as possible of the $4.77 million gap. But doing so reduces the financial cushion available for unexpected costs and creates a dangerous setup for next year. So you see the analogy here. I patched the runway, right? But it is a very dangerous patch because it's not a patch that's going to allow us to be financially and fiscally responsible and stable. Using reserves to cover recurring shortfalls is a short-term strategy only, as we can see from the past 6 years. It is not a solution. Every dollar drawn down today is a dollar unavailable for tomorrow's emergency, and the result is a widening gap due to enrollment drops, lower foundation aid, and higher costs. Without reductions in years 1 to 3, we would be relying on reserves to make future decisions more urgently and more difficult. It would be leading us to have larger program reductions, larger staff cuts, and increased borrowing costs. And that's very important. We want to make sure that we want to stay fiscally responsible, and we don't want a negative effect on our bond ratings moving forward as well. So over time, relying on reserves without structural changes leads to financial instability. Forcing sudden tax increases, like trying to pierce the cap, which is not what we are recommending this year, or much deeper cuts that can ultimately impact programs, staff retention, and student outcomes. We do not want to get here. You see the runway, it's destroyed. So we must act now with data carefully and intentionally to preserve the progress of the district and its financial health. So we will be making strategic decisions today for a stable tomorrow. We will protect core classroom teaching and essential student services first. We will review every program to find programs with few students or ones that repeat offerings. We will avoid staff cuts when we can by using retirements, resignations, and also not refilling some positions as driven by enrollment. If cuts are needed, we will look for reassignments of staff whenever possible. We will give staff and families clear notice and support when changes happen. Again, the goal of this is to make sure that the plane, the Glen Cove School District, can land on this runway that would be healthy, not just for the next year, but for the coming years down the line. So at this point, I'm going to transition to goal number 3, which is business and finance, health and safety. As you heard at the last Board of Education meeting from our security consultant, we have made significant improvements to our building and safety teams. We've had increased radio enhancement, camera improvements. We have had drill evaluations, visitor management system improvements, and we also have threat response and training that is significant and consistent across the district. Goal number 4 for human resources, communication, and recruiting. We have hired this school year 97 positions across all staff roles in the human resources department, including replacing 9 administrators you see pictured up here. We have a continuation of our new teacher orientation and our year-long new teacher academy, which is now in its 4th year. This is a photo from the summer of all the new teachers we hired this school year to replace the teachers that had retired. Now we move on to goal number 5, engagement and partnership, communication, and community engagement. As you know, because you've seen it all over our social media and in the local newspapers, thank you so much for featuring us, Fame GC, as well as the Findlay Middle School PTA and the district partnered to host award-winning actor Luis Guzman for a district-wide cultural arts experience. Students participated in fireside chats, but it was also an interdisciplinary cultural arts lab that transformed the middle school into a live media production space. GCTV students were there, students from the photography class were there, and from the podcast class were there, again, showing our partnerships and our incredible opportunities that we offer our students. As you know from the last meeting, we had our students from our wind ensemble travel to the Imagination Campus at Walt Disney World in Florida. There, the band participated in a workshop entitled Studio Sessions, and they also performed a formal concert at the Disney Springs Waterside Stage. We couldn't have done this without our community partners, the Glen Cove Education Foundation and MPAPA, who also donated gift cards for our students to have so that their experience at the parks were a very memorable one. We did an amazing ribbon cutting for our state-of-the-art science labs. The Board of Education and district administrators celebrated the official opening. This milestone was celebrated during our 7th annual Family Stream Night, and this was made possible by the community support of the 2022 bond, which we appreciate very much. We once again thank the Glen Cove Education Foundation for sponsoring the Prismatic Laser Show, which opened the event to all of our elementary students. This past Monday, I was so sad to miss it because I was up in Albany with the rest of the superintendents from the state, but we celebrated a district-wide international night. This effort was led by Ms. Ashley Garaldi, but it was an interdisciplinary approach. We had student musicians, student artists, we had food donated, and these are some of our partners. All of our PTAs participated and helped to sponsor the food at the event, and we had community partners such as the Charles Evans Center, the Safe Coalition, the Loggia of Glen Cove, La Fuerza was there. We had the North Shore Historic Chamber of Commerce, and we also had the Glen Cove Public Library attend as well. So once again, we are featuring our community working in partnership with us to provide our students with such great opportunities. The last slide I have for my superintendent's report this evening, actually one more, is the links to our PTAs. Please make sure you support our PTAs because as you can see, they give back to our students in incredible ways. At the last Board of Education meeting, we had a question from a community member. I spoke with him on the phone as well, but we wanted to share the answer publicly for transparency. The question was about students being allowed to play soccer and also be a kicker on the football team. We are in communication with our athletic coordinator, Mr. Doughton, who's reviewing how neighboring districts address this situation. And we're examining the guidance outlined in their athletic handbooks, and we'll also make sure that that information will guide how we make our decision moving forward. So we will keep the community member as well as the community at large in communication when we have more information about this, but we are gathering information right now in response to this. And that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from the board? Okay.
When you were talking about enrollment numbers, who's included in enrollment? Is it just school-age students who are in the public school system, or is it school-age students who are in private school, parochial, homeschooled, et cetera?
So they are the students that are in our system, not parochial school, like everybody that we would see in Power School is who I'm including in the enrollment. Any other questions?
Okay, so we'll move on to our first public comment, agenda items only. Please sign in with Ida, state your name and address. You have 3 minutes to speak. Please be respectful. Please refrain from naming individuals, and we will listen and respond at our next meeting or contact you. Come on up.
Good evening, esteemed Glen Cove board members. My name is Harris Pepper, 3 Midwood Place, Glen Cove, New York. I have been a Glen Cove resident now for almost 25 years. I am also a New York City educator over that length of time. Recently, I have become more active in the ongoings of Glen Cove and becoming more informed of the community as we strive to become the best versions of ourselves that we can be for our scholars as well as the community itself. By moving to Glen Cove led me to marrying my wife, who is also a lifelong resident, who is also extremely active. As educators, we're coming up on the most stressful time of the year, which is the standardized state tests, or preparing for those state exams, which demonstrate scholar improvements in September, but also are a pulse of how we are doing as a community to assist and having an impact on our future leaders of Glen Cove and our great nation. I took it upon myself to look up the most recent Glen Cove district results in grades 3 through 8 from www.data.nysed.gov, which show Glen Cove at an overall average of 40.7% proficiency in ELA and 41.2% proficiency in mathematics, while schools in other communities, and even in New York City, have an average of 58.7% proficiency in both ELA and mathematics. What I'd like to know is what is going on within our schools that increases in scholars and performances are not occurring. Is it the curriculum? What are our schools doing to ensure our future shines? The world is changing before our very eyes, and honestly, not for the best. As taxpayers, we need answers as to what is occurring that approximately 60%, 6 out of every 10 of our scholars, are not reaching a proficient level. Change needs to happen as soon as possible for our scholars to have a fair chance at the American dream. We need to meet these needs of our scholars now and not later. Any questions? Thank
No,
you.
thank you. Anybody else?
To the board. My name is Katrina Quayle Slota from 4 Old Estate Road in Glen Cove, New York. Good evening. My name is Katrina Quayle Slota. I am a parent of this district as well as a staff member of the Glen Cove High School. I would like to present a message to the Board of Education and a few ideas that we can help our students stay in class. Being employed of our school district as a monitor, realizing that we have an upload of students wandering in the halls when we're not supposed to, even bathroom passes. My idea, if we abuse it, we lose it. Meaning that if we have children that are on the zero zone list, they shouldn't have a free period. They should be in class. For those that deserve it, then they get free period. I was suggesting maybe extra help class, homework class besides Concept Academy or a student center. Something for our students. I'm noticing they're bored. They're bored. I understand we have a budget. I get it. But maybe we can come up with the BOCES director, whoever's in charge, ask them what they can take besides wandering the halls. I see so many students wandering, 2-3 periods. I've been with these kids since they've been getting out of car seats. I grew with them, and it breaks my heart. They're so talented and so smart. What could we do to keep our students in class? It's not your teachers, they're wonderful. My daughter's coming here. She will be the 4th generation here at Glen Cove School District. I want her to stay. And my husband are paying so much money in school taxes. She came from Variety with a speech deficit. Now she's going into mainstream classes for the first time next year. First time that I fought for her. And I want her to come here. But I want her to, as well as to know the rules, just like everyone else. So I'm wondering and asking the Board of Education, maybe we can come up with a student center, something, maybe in the gallery, a couple of chairs outside, once the cafeteria is back where they're supposed to be. I'm asking maybe we can have some kind of programs for them instead of wandering. Maybe change the curriculum, whatever we can't offer, see what BOCES can offer. Something. I'm asking because these students are wandering and they're getting into trouble, disturbing teachers over again in the hallways. So if the Board of Education maybe can come up with some kind of garden house, a greenhouse. I know we used to have one. If we have the materials, I'm more than I'll donate whatever you can. Whatever you need, I'll give you for these kids. I thought it would be a great resource for science teachers to bring their kids into this garden room outside, especially in the summer. For our service community programmers, that would be a great resource for these kids to have something to do in the summer. So please, if you could really suggest my favor for this, for these kids, because something can happen and we want to be accountable and make sure they're safe. But being in the halls is unacceptable. But thank you so much for your time. I appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. So we'll go on to instructional report.
Based on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, I ask the Board of Education to approve Agenda Item 7 on the Instructional Report A, Committee on Special Education, and B, Committee on Preschool Special Education.
Can I get a motion? Leah and Maria, any questions or comments? All in favor? 7. Business.
Based on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, I ask the Board of Education to approve Agenda Item 8A, Finance, numbers 1 and 2.
Can I get a motion? Maureen and Megan, questions or comments? All in favor? 7.
Based on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, I ask the Board of Education to approve Agenda Item 8B, Operations, numbers 1 through 3.
Can I get a motion? Brett and Maria, questions or comments? All in favor? 7. And thank you to the Gribben PTA for the author visit. All of the schools have had visits through PARP, and I think the kids really enjoy it, so thanks. Personnel.
Based on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, I ask the Board of Education to approve Agenda Item 9A certified, items 1 through 7.
Can I get a motion? Anne and Megan, questions or comments? All in favor? 7.
Based on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, I ask the Board of Education to approve agenda item 9B classified, items 1 through 4.
Motion, Leah and Brett. Questions or comments? All in favor? 7. Okay, unfinished business, you're still up, policy.
So for unfinished business, this is a second reading. Just as a reminder, it's really just a required update from NYSBA regarding our policy over FOIA requests for any employees where a FOIA request of disciplinary records are recommended. The amendment affirms the district's commitment to providing notice to current and prior employees if any FOIA request is ever submitted to the district. And just as an important reminder, we continue our standard practice of consulting with legal counsel to ensure validity and proper handling of any such requests.
Great. Anybody? No? Wanna, can I get a motion to approve Brett and Ann? All in favor? 7? Okay, and then we have 4 more, 4? Yeah, 4 more policies.
So for policies 5500, they're really, you have 5500, then you have 2 exhibits that go along. It's really the same amendment across all 3, and it's really just best practice that we received in consultation with counsel in regard to the safest information to really collect from students. So that's really just following our counsel's recommendation for the information that we collect in terms of data for our students.
Okay. So then we'll vote on this one next time.
Yeah.
And then 4710?
So 4710, I know there's a lot of cross-outs on that one. It was just a little bit easier to kind of do the strike-throughs and just reset it. So really just as a reminder, this is really just generated from the findings of the grading policy advisory team. So really tonight's proposal is a template that was taken from NYSBA. And really allows, and the intentionality is to provide a more flexible policy where the Office of Curriculum Instruction would lead the development of consistent district-wide grading guidelines. It doesn't mean that there won't be consistency. The work would really allow establishing recommended grading category, weight ranges, and refining approach to pass-fail grading eligibility. And the proposed policy represents a comprehensive restructuring of the grading policy. So it removes specific references to grading categories, weights, and percentages from board policy. But again, it doesn't eliminate these elements from practice, rather it just shifts their definition to district-level guidelines, which will be developed collaboratively with administration and with teachers. And the district would continue to maintain a unified grading system. So that's just a really important thing to just really reemphasize. Really it allows a lot of flexibility and allows us to make sure that our grading policy is consistent with the Portrait of a Graduate, which Dr. Dushner referenced tonight, as well as the ongoing work of the state and the Blue Ribbon Commission. So yeah.
All right. Yeah, we had a good discussion about it during policy at the last meeting. Anyone have anything about those? All right, so we'll talk about it more next meeting.
You got it.
Great. Board comments? Thank you. Go.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to say that I attended the international night, and I got my passport, and I got it stamped. I went to a lot of places. It was a really great opportunity to eat food that was delicious and from all over the place. And talk with different community organizations, and also talk with the students who were each representing different countries. They were speaking to them, and so that was a nice way to engage. People were dancing, and there was music, and I would recommend it. I know it's a regular event, I believe, now that we're going to, we had it, and then it was disrupted by the pandemic, and then it came back, and I think it's a great event, and I encourage everybody to attend it next year. Thank you.
So this week is PARP week, and which stands for Pick a Reading Partner. So today I had the opportunity to participate in Community Reader at Daisy School, which was great. I know Dr. Doshner mentioned she was there, and a lot of people from the school community was there, Ms. Farrell was there, and Ms. Carfora, and even Mrs. Arfman came back. It was really nice to see everyone together, and then other community members to join the schools. It was it's always really nice to see the Glen Cove schools and the Glen Cove city and community all sort of join together for the students. I wanted to thank the PARP committees at each school for doing all the work to put the program together. It is a lot of work, and the students absolutely love it. They get a lot out of it. And at Daisy, as it turns out, we were told that the second graders had been working with the 3D printer, and they all the second graders designed bookmarks and then printed the bookmarks and gave them to the readers. So this is mine, and it's adorable, and I'm going to use it the first chance I get. So thank you to everybody, and it goes on, I guess, the next 2 days.
Yeah, I read at Landing yesterday, and the kids were great. They had rapid-fire questions for me after my book, nothing about the book, but they got to know everything about me.
Yeah, my favorite question is do you have any questions? And they're like, how old are you?
Yeah. And then the gasp.
Yeah, thank you.
But, yeah, the kids are doing a great job with that. Anybody else? Okay. So we'll go on to our final public participation, 3 minutes, name and address. Anybody?
Once again, Harris Pepper, 3 Midwood Place, Glen Cove. The question I have was regarding the grading policy. Is there a minimum grade district-wide that students get? Say, example, a student who has not passed, they're going to get a minimum grade on their report card?
Just go through all of your questions and then we'll jot them down.
If a student, say, for example, is given a minimum grade, the minimum grade they could get is, say, a 55, what do you do for the other students who work their tail off and, say, got a 65 or a 67? So therefore, all the grades would have to be skewed. So I'm just wondering, when we're talking about grading policy or uniformity, what is ongoing right now in Glen Cove?
Thank you. Someone will get back to you, and we'll address this again at our next meeting. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. So we need to go back into executive session. So can I get a motion to return to executive session to discuss legal and personnel? Anne and Brett, all in favor? 7. Thank you, GCTV. Have a great night, everybody. Good night.